Hello, everybody, and welcome to Write Something Weird. I'm Sophie Stern, and I'm here with my friend Trisha. Hello.
Hi.
So, we were talking about how we first met, and I had the suspicion that sometimes we have a person in our lives that just appeared there and we don't know how they got there, but we have figured it out. Trish and I met at Lit and Libations, I think the end of 2024. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Ish? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's been a while, but
Mhm.
it's been fun and we've seen each other at various other events over the last couple of years. But Trisha, could you tell us a little bit about what you write?
Yeah. So I'm Trisha and I am a fantasy writer. I wrote and published my first book last year, Daughter of Broken Light. It's an epic fantasy book. So it's first of a trilogy.
Yeah. So are you already like right in the middle of writing book two, or are they all written?
Yeah. So I am in the middle of writing book two, and it's funny because the first book, so I've been writing since I was like a kid, and then there was
Okay.
like the Lord of the Rings fanfic stuff that I wrote too, like, you
Okay.
know.
I know.
Um, but it's fine. Uh, so
This is a
um,
judgment-free zone, so that's okay.
I was always a legless self-insert.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
me as Legolas and Aragorn, like those were the fanfics.
Oh, okay. Very solid.
It was great. So the sorry, my animals are hovering around me. So if you see me looking, it's because they're trying to destroy my living room.
Oh no, that's okay though.
But the yeah, so it's my first book that I published, and that book was one POV, and my second book now is two POV because the party splits.
Okay.
So it's going to be significantly bigger than my first book. So I'm about 50,000 words into it, and it's probably going to be around 140.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot. So has changing the POV, has that been a difficult process or a fun process?
So actually, it's been really therapeutic for me. So my first book, so my female main character, Idriel, she's from the House of the Sun. So she's kind of bright, shiny, a little bit naive because she just wants to see the good in people. And that's especially when I first moved to Missouri. I'm from Virginia Beach. So when I first moved to
Okay.
Missouri 15 years ago, I was very much that way. Like, oh my God, everybody wants to be my friend. No, they sure don't. And so that was kind of hard, and then unlearning a lot of things that I had thought. So I put
Yeah.
kind of a lot of that. My books are my journal because I don't want to write a journal. So I put that in my characters.
Love
But
that
the
though.
the second book has been challenging, but also, like I said, very cathartic and therapeutic because the other character, she is cynical as hell.
Oh,
So I
okay.
have one character who's like, it's gonna be
Very
okay,
different.
even though everything's awful. And then the other character, who's based off my one of my very good friends, Meg Blystone. She runs Pulp Fiction Comics and Games.
Okay.
She's a lot more cynical, and so I got to tap into her cynicism,
Yeah.
which the last couple years has just been like one big traumatic event after another in my life. And so tapping into that cynical part of my brain has been so good for
Yes.
me.
Yeah. I believe that. And I love the idea of like writing as therapy and writing to express those emotions and kind of deal with them. So,
Mhm.
do you find that you write more when you're going through a hard time or more when you're like not going through a hard time?
I do find so my dad passed away 2 weeks ago, and I have a very heart-wrenching scene that I've been planning in my book since the beginning of the first book. And I'm like, I don't know how to write this. This is so traumatic. This is a different level of like grief that I haven't experienced. And I was like, well, thanks
Yeah.
for the real life experience, Dad. So last
No.
week, I know it's terrible. Last week, I just went and took all of the grief that I'm feeling right now, and I just
Mm,
wrote it. And it felt good to see it on paper of,
yeah.
oh, those are what I'm feeling because grief is very nuanced. And as writers, we get to bring in all those nuanced emotions into a scene and share that with people.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's really interesting. And I feel like grief is one of those things where it kind of tends to hit you out of nowhere. Like I feel like some people have this idea that it's a very like linear process, and it is not that way.
No, it's not. I'm not an angry person, but that's been the forefront of my grief is anger. And that's been so, from a human point of view, that's been so strange and out of body for me. But from the writer's point of view, I'm like, oh, this is gold, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you have those two characters that you're working on. Do you have a favorite character, or do you like them both for different reasons?
That's hard, actually. I would say right now, my character who's more cynical, Merowyn, I'm favoring her, but it's just because that's where my mind is. But I do like forcing myself to write the scenes from Idriel because that is me at my core, filled with unrelenting hope and trying to shine even when things are really dark and scary. And
Yeah.
so writing her, Idriel, while I don't feel like her, I
Mhm.
think is keeping me grounded.
I think that's really interesting. So here's a question
Yeah.
for writers who are new and
Mhm.
just starting to jump into like writing like multiple points of view. What's a good starting point? Like, how should writers jump into the idea of like having those opposing viewpoints?
So for me, what worked, and everybody's going to be different. So for me, what worked is mapping out what are their individual intentions.
Hmm.
What are their overall outlooks? Because the biggest thing I wanted to make sure of is I needed their internal voices to be very different.
Okay.
One, it makes it easier to, as a reader,
Yeah.
to like decipher between the two, but also I didn't want it to feel like they're the same people.
Hmm.
And sometimes if you get stuck on like just dialogue, that doesn't always go correctly, if that makes sense. It
Yeah.
doesn't differentiate. But what I found works is from the beginning, I was like, okay, what are this character's motivating factors? What are their five
Yeah.
core values of life as a person? And then if I create every single dialogue scene, every action scene according to their five core values as the people they are,
Hmm.
they will remain the people they are.
Okay. Interesting. So it kind of sounds like, are you a heavy plotter? Like, do you plot a lot of your story in advance? No, it sounds like you are though.
Okay, so I am a goblin writer.
Okay. Tell me more, please.
Chaos Goblin. Because so when I first started writing this book, the first book,
Yeah.
4 years ago, I started writing it. Um, I just spilled out the first 10,000 words with no idea what the hell was happening. Just spilled out the first 10,000 words onto a Word document. And then I spent the next 6 months just world building. I have like
Okay.
over 50 different documents of here's the rivers, here's like every single city and its backstory and its history and the races. And I was raised on Dungeons and Dragons and World of Warcraft.
Okay.
So I say I'm not a plotter, but I am a world builder.
Okay. Okay. I like that. So, how do you start building a world? Is there a place that you like to personally start? Like, do you start with the rivers, or do you start with I've envisioned a scene and I need to kind of design what that looks like? Where do you begin building?
So I have a photographic memory.
Okay.
And so when I am writing my books, the best scenes that I've written have come to me in a vision.
Okay.
In the way of I have to close my eyes and picture the all the senses. So my first book, it starts out this girl is just lounging on the beach in the sand with her golden
Okay.
retriever, which is based off of mine, because that was my favorite place to be when I lived in Virginia.
Okay, cool.
And then from there, I had to like close my eyes, picture myself there, and then like kind of do a weird internal VR scan of my surroundings. Like, well, what would the castle look like? And it looks like a magical sand castle, like that kind of.
Love that. Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, and then it's kind of like when I don't know if you're a gamer, but like when
Yeah.
when you're walking on your like quest path, and then you like unlock regions of your map.
Yes, and it all
That,
starts to fill in.
that's what my brain does. Like, okay, well, they need to go north. Well, what's north? And then my brain unlocks that mini map.
I like that. So, do you think you will always write fantasy? Because it sounds like you're very into like building this large, like fleshed out world. I feel like just from what you said, you could probably have like 50 books in that world.
Yes, I do have. So I have in the future a duology romantasy planned that is based off of the origins of this world, which is a whole
Okay.
thing. And then I really, there's so much potential to do like in my book I have arcane magic and then I have like natural magic, but arcane
Okay.
magic is you go to like a college and a school to learn. And I'm like, I could do like a Zodiac Academy, like Harry Potter sort of
Yeah,
thing
that
there,
kind of vibe. Yeah, that'd be cool.
but make it a little bit smutty. Like,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Well, and I
so,
think, yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was gonna say, like, I like the idea too of like making it a little smutty or spicy and just like leaning into like the weirdness or the chaos or whatever the emotion is that we want our readers to feel.
Yes. Yeah. I also am very into thrillers.
Okay.
Like I read, so like I do a lot of stained glass, and so when I'm in there making my pretty stained glass stuff, I'm actually listening to like killers in my head, like the audiobook.
Interesting. Yeah, that's
So I've
cool.
been listening to a lot of like Karen Slaughter, and actually, I don't know if you know her, but Kristen Helling,
Yes, I do. Yeah, we've
I
actually signed a couple of times together.
I love her so much, and her book series, The Altruist Effect.
Okay, I've not read it.
It's a series. There's four of them. They are the best. I can I cuss?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes, you can cuss.
She wrote the best fucked up psychological thriller because each book is kind of based off of an old psychological experiment that happened, and I am
Okay.
so into that weirdo psychology like thrillers.
That's
And her
cool.
books, I read all four of her books in like the span of a month last summer, and then that just projected me into being like, I want to read every single fucked up thriller book there ever has been.
Yes. Yes. I
Highly
love a good
recommend her books.
thriller.
They are
Yeah.
not super long to read, that or I just stayed up all night reading them. I don't know, but she did a really good job. I'm like, I need you to write more fucked up books like this, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like that's one of the fun things about knowing authors is being like, "Hey, you, write
I
me
know.
something. I'm
I
waiting."
know. Yes.
So,
Yes.
speaking of knowing local authors,
I know a few.
you know a few, just a couple. So, you are very involved in the Kansas City book scene.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. So I am president of the nonprofit Casey Book Beat. We were founded August of 2024, so almost 2 years, which is insane. And I don't even know where to start. So this community, this book community, I just have to say, is so beautiful and genuine. And I would not be the person I am now without this book community. I am honored all the time that I am president of Casey Bookbeat and that I get to help other authors the way that they have helped me too. Like that just is the highest honor I think I've had in a long time.
I love that. That was a really good explanation. I like that. Well, and I feel like writing can be writing can be very solitary and it can be
Yeah.
very lonely. And
Yes.
especially for new authors, finding ways to get plugged into a community can be really challenging.
Yeah, it's hard and it's so terrifying. So like I've been an artist for a very long time,
Hmm.
like different mediums, but I found a lot of artist communities to be kind of gatekeepy in a way. And so then when I
Okay.
got to like the author community and I discovered all the indie authors through Sarah Wakeman's Karma events in Blue
Yeah, I love
Springs.
those. Hmm.
Again, love that. And that it was like, oh, there's I was so starstruck when I met like Elle Sparrow and when I met like there's so many indie authors that have been at those
Hmm.
events that I was like, so Elizabeth Bird, I met her at one of those summer boozy book fests when it was down in like Nebraska.
Yeah. Okay,
My husband
cool.
complimented her dress because she was wearing a beautiful bookish
Oh
dress,
yeah, she
and she's
always
like,
looks like so great. Yeah.
Elizabeth is gorgeous. And so I was like, oh my God, there's this hot woman talking to me. Like, I need
What do I
another
do?
cocktail. And then she's like, I'm an author. And I was like, I am starstruck. This is amazing. And now she's like one of my closest friends. So it's like,
I
but
love that.
that's how this community is. You know, you meet people that you're like, oh wow, I am inspired by you. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you're talking about like the smutty scenes that you're writing all the time. Like it's great. And that's
Yeah.
what I want. That's what I want through Casey Bookbeat. You know, like I'm not always going to make the best decision. But I'm going to make the thing that I think is the best decision. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's fair.
And it's hard being a public figure um, in that regard, in such a public facing community with like all the book world, book talk, all that. Um, because at the end of the day, I just want to do what's right for the community, and
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
we're trying to pivot all the time of, okay, what does the community need? Do they need more workshops? Do they need more events? What genres are being missed? We're always trying to see like what what's missing and how can I help
Yeah.
is really the biggest thing. Me and like the whole board, they are such incredible, beautiful women. And they all the time are like, hey, here's a hole in the reader community, the author community. Maybe we can fill it, and here's how.
That's really cool. So, for writers who are new to Kansas City
Mhm.
or new to finding a community,
Yeah.
what advice would you give for getting plugged in?
So if they want to be, there's a lot of different communities. And so I know the Gilded Page, run by Lucy with the Boozy Book
Hmm.
Fair, they
Yeah.
have a really great like book community. And then Casey Bookbeat, we are trying to come up, like bring up more like writers sit-ins and stuff. And then there's Dark Flame Society, who also does a lot of events as well. So Kansas City is so rich with that. And my biggest advice for new authors is to, if you find I'm a golden retriever person. I understand not everybody is comfortable just popping into somebody's DMs and asking them questions. But if there's any new authors, I very much encourage you, go ahead, add me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and message me and see how I can help you. And I will do everything I can to get you connected with the right people. Um,
That's really sweet. I love that. Well, and I like that you're so welcoming because I feel like for a lot of new writers, they just aren't sure where to start or
yeah,
where to start looking.
it's hard. And, Casey Bookbeat, we are currently revamping our website.
Oh, cool.
And so we're trying to make it a lot more open. So if new baby authors Google it and like find Casey Bookbeat's website, they'll be able to find a lot more resources more quickly. So the board is working on that. Like Madison Chase people, Melissa
Mhm.
and Chelsea, I love them so much.
They're great. They're
They
great.
they're at my house yesterday and brought me wine, which was fantastic.
Wait, that's so fun. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you live
yeah.
close?
No, I mean, I don't know,
Okay.
15 minutes away, but I've
Okay,
been
that's
sad
fair.
girl. And so they're like, we're coming over, we're bringing our kid to play with your kid, and then here's wine. And I'm like, and a fruit tray.
Okay, you know what? You cannot go wrong with writers bringing you wine and a fruit tray.
I know. I love that. Actually, I do want to plug them real quick because
Yeah.
Melissa, she designed my book cover.
Oh, wait, did she really? That looks so
She
great.
did. And then Chelsea was doing all the formatting, and then and like they hooked me up because that's what the community is. That's what I want for new authors too. So like we have our Facebook group, the Casey
Hmm.
Bookbeat Collaboration Station. So if people want to join that, they have a starting point. That's
Yeah.
like, and we also have a Discord as well.
Cool. I love that. And I love what you said. Like they've designed your cover and someone's done your formatting and you can find all of these things within the community. And I think one thing that's really helpful too is because I go to a lot of the local author events, both as an author and a reader. And I feel like those are such great spaces to talk to other writers who live here and who are always looking for ways to learn and level up their writing and who are getting active
Mhm.
and who are giving back.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like I've been trying to give a lot, like I've been a beta reader for a lot of local authors too, and because I'm good at line editing, I'm not, don't ask me developmental editing, I won't remember anything. But
Fair.
line editing, I'm like, hey, you helped me with this, let me beta read for you. Like, it's a give and take all around.
Yeah. Well, I like that too because I feel like for a lot of authors just starting out, the barrier of entry and the cost can be a lot. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, being part of a community where you're like, oh, if you can, like, you read my work, I'll read your work, or whatever the situation is, that can be really helpful too.
Yeah, that is actually I'm not going to say what yet because I'm super excited about it, but there's quite a few
Okay.
things in the works with Casey Bookbeat for later this year that
Okay, cool.
that is definitely something we really wanted to do is, hey, what's a good starting point for like baby authors, like
Mhm.
haven't even considered any type of publishing or anything. They're like, "Hey, I wrote a book." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Congratulations. That is the first." I would like to say
Yeah.
that's the hardest part, but actually formatting was the hardest part for me, which is why Chelsea did it.
You know, that's so funny. I was talking to someone earlier and they were like, they just finished their first book and they were like, you know, asking me questions about it. And I was like, it's actually like really hard. Writing a book is hard. Did you know that? Like, you did something hard.
And it is funny publishing my book while being in such a beautiful and rich author community. The imposter syndrome has been so deep
Okay.
because
That's
I'm
fair.
like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's not special that I wrote a book because all these other people have written a book. And then I go outside of the author community, they're like, oh my gosh, you wrote a book. That's
You
amazing.
wrote
And
a book.
I'm like, oh, it is.
No, it is, which is so funny because we have a mutual friend, Spence, and
Yes.
my car guy, and I was talking to him and chit-chatting, and he was like, listen up, because he knows I'm an author. My friend wrote a book, and I was like, what the fuck? That's amazing. Who's your friend? And then he told me, and I was like, oh, that's our friend, actually. So, but yeah,
I love
that's
that
such
so
a
much.
good time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was so fun.
that's
But
cute.
you're totally right. Like, I think a lot of times when we get so close to, especially other authors, it's really easy to
Yeah.
be like, well, I'm not as successful or as popular or whatever the situation is, instead of being like, actually, I did something really hard. I wrote a story.
Yeah. Right. If we get ourselves oversaturated in our own market, the things we do don't feel special. Like right now, I'm so saturated on my social medias with my stained glass that I'm like, oh, it's not special that I do stained glass, but it is, you know?
It is special. It's cool that you're making art, especially when things feel hard and you've gone
Yeah.
through a lot and the world is messy. I feel like when we get back to like making cool art, whether it's writing a story, making stained
Mhm.
glass, or just building a community, that's what it's all
Yeah.
about.
Well, and, I started with my stained glass because I wanted to create my own merchandise.
That's
Um,
cool.
but now I got good really fast because of the ADHD. So I'm like, oh shit, now I have to like go do shows and stuff. But here in the next couple weeks on my stained glass Instagram,
Mhm.
I'm going to do a giveaway where it's my way of giving back to the author community for everything they've done
Cool.
for me of, hey, I'm gonna pick one person, um, and I'm gonna because I design most of my pieces.
Okay.
Like I design most of my things. And so basically, whoever wins, and it's just going to be like a random wheel, whoever wins, they can talk to me and we will come up with a custom stained glass piece that I make for their book. And it's
Oh,
theirs.
that's
Like,
lovely.
so I think every author deserves to feel like a Sarah J. Maas or Rebecca Yarros. I think
Yeah.
every author should feel like, oh my gosh, I wrote the bestseller, even if it doesn't have that sticker on it.
Yeah.
And they should have merchandise of their stuff. Everybody should feel special.
I love that. Well, speaking of feeling special, before we say goodbye, could you tell everyone where they could find you, where they could find your books?
Yeah, so I am everywhere. Daughter of Broken Light. It is available on Amazon and KU. It's also available at Noctera Bookery. And then once I take them up there this week, they'll be up at Basement Books.
Okay, cool.
And I do have my website, trishaotis.com. It has my books for sale and my stained glass.
Okay, amazing. Well, Trisha, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so
Yes,
much for coming and talking with me about books. I really appreciate it.
thank you. You're delightful.
Oh my gosh, you're delightful. All right, well, have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.